If you have heard things like, he cut me, or they're not sharing a million times before the first recess of your day, you might be a kindergarten teacher or an early childhood teacher, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. Tattling. Tattling is probably in the top 5 things that I will get asked about to help problem solve in the classroom. It's very common, things like tattling, interrupting. They're very common and very normal developmentally for children, but that doesn't mean that they're not frustrating. It can be frustrating when you're trying to do a million things. You have 30 kids in your class, and then you get kids tapping on your backside, smacking you on the back, trying to say, hey, teacher, they cut me. And they're tattling. It can be frustrating. So let's talk about that today. What can we do to solve tattling? Why does it happen? And how can we just make it better? So number 1, we want to avoid phrases like stop tattling or use your words, because kids don't actually know what this means unless we explicitly teach them. And oftentimes, this is going to start pretty early in the year, and we probably haven't taught them all these things yet. And maybe you have, but even still, we kind of need to do a check for understanding here. So blanket statements like, oh, stop tattling, that doesn't usually help. And use your words, what does that mean for them? So we have to try to avoid those. It's really hard because that might be our instinct to just be like, oh, please stop tattling, right? But we're going to try to stop saying those. And the other thing to remember is sometimes kids just want to inform you. So we actually have to check and see, yes, they're tattling, but is there even a problem anymore? Sometimes there's actually not a problem. They've already solved it, but they still want to inform you that they have solved it, right? They're like, hey, the teacher has got to know about this. And again, that's very developmentally appropriate and normal, but we can still help them lessen the occurrence of this by our reaction. So let's do some run through scenarios, and then you'll have time this week, because I guarantee someone's going to tattle. Eventually they're going to. You'll have time to put this in action. So number 1, we're going to do a lot of modeling for students at circle time, a lot of role playing. Yes, we have 9,000 other things to do. You have small group lessons and other lessons. However, this is the work of early childhood. And these types of things, if we don't give them 5 to 10 minutes now and then of explicit time in our circle time because we're too busy, I know we're busy. But if we say, oh, I'm too busy with this phonics lesson, I can't do that. Well, what's going to happen is your phonics lesson and your other lessons are going to be interrupted by tattling, by interrupting, by all of these other social emotional behaviors. So really, we're not getting anywhere anyway, because we're getting interrupted all the time. So spend the time now, spend the time developing these skills so that you have more time for your lessons and other things later, because it's going to take time either way. You're better off getting ahead of it, okay? So when you feel that resistance, like, oh, I don't have time to add in these mini lessons, remember, you're gonna have the time either way. It's just either they're gonna take it from you or you're gonna get ahead of it. So plan out some of these mini lessons where you're role-playing situations, like someone cutting someone in line, or someone isn't sharing. What could they do? Okay, you're gonna really plan these out with your students. Act them out. They need practice with them. But I want to run you through when it's actually happening in your classroom, kind of a script for what you can say. So here's how I handle tattling. Let's say someone runs up to me. We're getting in line for recess. Someone runs up to me, starts tapping me or going, teacher, he cut me. And they're pointing. And you know that means they cut in front of them in line. He cut me. Now, instead of me saying, why did you cut in front of her? Don't cut in front of her. Or instead of me saying, don't tattle, go problem solve. Instead, I'm going to ask, oh, did you tell him it was your spot? Because this is going to give me information right away. Either they're going to say, no, then I know they didn't even try to problem solve. So this student needs help with problem solving. Oh, okay, well, the first step is you're going to need to tell them, hey, that's my spot. You're going to need to use your voice and tell them. So now I can work with this student on that part. See, if I would have said just use your words or don't tattle, I wouldn't have known that they actually needed support with that. Now let's pretend I asked that question and I said, did you tell them this was your spot? And they said, yes, I did. I told them. I'm still not going to go over there and intervene. I'm going to ask another question because now I know, okay, they did understand the start of this, the problem solving, right? They told them it was their spot. Now I'm going to ask, and did they stop? Did he move out of your way? And they might say, no, he's still there. He still cut me. Then I know, okay, now I need to work with this other child and them and problem solve this together. They still need some support. But sometimes, and it does happen, it happens quite often. This is where we talked about how they just want to inform you sometimes. Sometimes when I ask that question, and did they stop? The child will go, yeah, they did. And so then in my mind, I'm like, well, then why on earth are you telling me? But remember, they want to inform us sometimes. So all I say is, oh, what a great job problem solving. Thank you for solving that by yourself. And then I move on. I do not go over there and go tell the other student, remember not to cut in line. Nope. They've already solved the problem in that case. And when a student or students have already solved a problem, get out of their way. You don't need to relive it with them. It's over and we move on. And in this acknowledgement and moving on, it's helping to train their brain to know, hey, I've got this, I solved the problem. And the more that we just move on from it, the less they're going to feel the need to come tell us over and over. Okay? Now, of course, it's not going to be every time they're solving it themselves, but by following that line of questioning, and it's quick, I'm not having a long conversation with them. I'm more just asking right away, did you tell them to stop? Did they listen to you? Right? I'm getting those yes or no questions so that I can see which part we're stuck at. Because then I can know, oh, they need help with this. Oh, they need help with that. And then remember those mini lessons we talked about? I know how to tailor them to help my students get even further with some of these skills. So when we go back to that idea of use your words, don't tattle, the reason we're not saying those things is because it's not actually helpful in the moment and students need more explicit instruction and more help. I know it can feel exhausting. It can feel so tiring, especially with all the things that we have to do in a day. But remember, in our classrooms, we're not just managing behavior, we're building real life skills with our students. And the more that we take that away from them and just manage the behavior ourselves without involving them and building those skills, the less likely they're going to carry those on and carry them over. Okay? And this is the work of early childhood. Early childhood can be so amazing and so special and also very tiring because the work we do is so hard and so important. But if you're running into tattling, give this a try this week. Okay, re-listen if you need to. Check the show notes where we'll break it down a bit more for you, give you some extra support and resources. And I want you to try kind of following that script I mentioned here when students are tattling this week. You've got this. If you have any other management requests or video requests, podcast requests, always hang out with me on Instagram at The Kindergarten Connection. Send me a DM. Check the show notes for anything else, and I will see you soon. Happy teaching.